Welcome to Patcast. I'm Brad Whitaker. With the draft just a few days away now, we know the New England Patriots are at the very least pretending to be open to trading back in case a potential team is willing to throw the bag at the Patriots and give them ample draft assets to help for a swift rebuild. We're going to break through three scenarios that I've gamed out here where the Patriots, I think, would be much better off if these teams were in fact willing to make some of these deals. And the first is the obvious one, which starts with the Minnesota Vikings. I've heard a number of folks flow this out, including Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston. This is the bag that the Minnesota Vikings could offer that I don't think the Patriots could possibly turn down if it went their way. Now, we know the Minnesota Vikings acquired a second first-round pick from the Houston Texans of late, and that gives them the 11th overall pick in this year's draft, as well as the 23rd overall pick, with the idea of packaging those two and trading up into the early part of the first round to get their future franchise quarterback. Now, if they're high on a guy like Drake May, or maybe Jaden Daniels is available at third overall, this would be the opportunity for them to do it if they want the Patriots willing to trade the third overall pick. So obviously what would happen in this scenario, the Vikings get third overall, take Drake May or Jaden Daniels, and the Patriots would acquire the 11th overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, a future first-round pick from the Minnesota Vikings, and then the real value, left tackle Christian Darrisaw, one of the great young tackles, picked up a fifth-year option in Minnesota this season. He's a guy that Patriots would probably have to extend, but they have the money to do so, whereas Minnesota, they're gonna have some guys to pay, right? They're gonna have to pay Justin Jefferson at some point. Maybe they can't afford Christian Darrisaw after this single season. So that would give the Patriots a real franchise left tackle, a guy the future franchise quarterback would be able to rely very well on. Patriots don't have to worry about that position anymore. They don't have to draft it early in the draft. Maybe get some depth at tackle later on, but they would give him an offensive line, Darrisaw at left tackle, Cole Strange, if healthy, at left guard, David Andrews at center, likely Sidy Sow at right guard, and of course, Michael Onwenu, who just signed a long-term deal at the right tackle position. And then you're all set for the offensive line, other than maybe drafting a guard, maybe adding some depth there, and really spending the rest of the draft addressing the quarterback and wide receiver positions where the biggest needs are. Now, for the Patriots, they're obviously giving up on Drake May or Jaden Daniels if they have the 11th overall pick. And they're probably not getting J.J. McCarthy. Yes, it's possible. A lot of people are saying McCarthy may slip later than a lot of people think. We know the NFL media is very high on J.J. McCarthy. I'm high on McCarthy as well. But we've also heard that other organizations, especially front offices, aren't as keen on McCarthy as others are saying. So it's possible he's available at 11th overall, but in all likelihood, he would be snagged by a team like the New York Giants at 6th overall. So he probably would not be available. So that leaves Michael Penix, who the Patriots invited to a top 30 visit recently. Not sure you're going to spend the 11th overall pick on Penix, but maybe he's available at 23rd overall. Either way, you don't have to worry about getting an offensive lineman. You can use one of those picks on Penix and then get one of the top 5 or 6 wide receivers, which this is a very deep draft for the Patriots. And then you have all 3 needs filled before you're even out of the first round, plus a future first-round pick from Minnesota next year, which could be very valuable, especially if Minnesota gets a guy like Drake May, who, in all honesty, is a bit of a project, right? Like, he's probably going to have to sit. He would be in a much better situation if he went to Kevin O'Connell with the weapons, with the offensive line they have in Minnesota. Obviously, they wouldn't have Darrisaw if this trade was made, but in all likelihood, they would have to rely on Sam Darnold, at least for the early half of the season. And then Minnesota's in a bit of a rebuild, so that future first-round pick in 2025 that the Patriots would acquire in this deal could potentially be top 15, maybe top 10, and then you're back working with smoke again next season, and you have a young rookie quarterback, Michael Penix, who probably is starting, right, at least halfway through the season. I think he could maybe beat out Jacoby Brissett in training camp, and that would be a good situation, right? Okay, but now let's get into some of these that I've gamed out a little bit personally. This is more along the J.J. McCarthy lines, right? The Patriots look at J.J. McCarthy. They say, look, we really like this quarterback. We also really like Drake May and Jaden Daniels, but we don't see an enormous drop-off between Daniels and May and McCarthy. We're willing to acquire some additional assets, take McCarthy, and then we can give him some weapons that he could use right away. And a lot of people, excuse me, feel that McCarthy might actually be available to start right away. Has a high floor, maybe not the highest ceiling, but that also puts him in a position to win the starting job in training camp. Great mechanics, great footwork, a guy that's proven in big game situations. Let's just say the Patriots are like, all right, we'll get a guy like McCarthy. Let's make a trade with the New York Giants for the 6th overall pick. So the Giants would take a guy like Drake May, right, or Jaden Daniels if he falls to number 3 with the 3rd overall pick. The Patriots would fall back just 3 picks, so they're not going to get as much in return, but they would have the 6th overall pick and likely select J.J. McCarthy. And then the additional pick that they would acquire would be the 47th overall pick from the New York Giants, which is pick number 15 in the 2nd round. I know that may not excite a lot of people, but again, the Patriots would only be moving back 3 spots. So you're not going to get a massive return, but you're getting a second rounder, right? And that gives you an opportunity to get the quarterback early in the 6th round. Then you have the 34th overall pick in the 2nd round. You can address the tackle position or the wide receiver position there. And then whatever the remaining need is between tackle and receiver, you take at 47th overall. Maybe Xavier Leggette's available at that position. Maybe your Roman Wilson. Maybe the McCaffrey brother. There's a lot of guys who may be available at that spot in the middle of the 2nd round. And you know some of these high-end tackles, there's like 8 to 10 of them that could potentially go in the 1st round. Some of them are going to slip to the 2nd round. Patriots could probably address that and get their starting left tackle early in the 2nd round and then address receiver 13 picks later at 47th overall, which they would acquire with the Giants in this trade. Now, there is a risk to that, right? Because what if another team wants to select J.J. McCarthy with either the 4th or 5th pick? Now, as it is currently, I don't see that happening. So you have the Arizona Cardinals at 4th overall. I think they're going to stand pat. From everything that I've heard, they're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. They need a big X elite wide receiver, a guy to help Kyler Murray on the outside. Marvin Harrison Jr. would be able to do that on day 1. I don't see the Arizona Cardinals moving out of the number 4 pick. But the LA Chargers, however, Jim Harbaugh now in charge of that organization, I could see them potentially trading back. And a team that wants to move up, take J.J. McCarthy at 5th overall, could steal him and prevent the Patriots from selecting their quarterback at 6th overall, which means this is an enormous risk, right? If you really want McCarthy and you don't want to risk it, you can just select him at 3rd overall. You're not going to get the extra pick like I've laid out here, but then at least you know a team like the Vikings couldn't trade to 5th overall with the Chargers and then take McCarthy that way. And then the Patriots are screwed and they're like, all right, I guess we'll take Neighbors. I don't know. We'll take Joe Alt or a tackle, or maybe we'll trade back from that. But it puts the Patriots in a tough position at 6th overall. So that's why I've laid out this 3rd scenario, which involves 3 teams that would all but guarantee the Patriots would be able to get J.J. McCarthy and some additional assets. And I think this works well for all 3 teams. The 3 parties involved here, New England Patriots, obviously, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Los Angeles Chargers. So what happens here, again, Minnesota Vikings had the 11th overall pick and the 23rd overall pick, both 1st-round picks. Chargers would have to get a very decent bag for this. Patriots would only be trading back a couple of spots, so they're only going to get a little bit in return. But I think it's a better return than what they would get by trading back 3 spots with the New York Giants in the trade that I just mentioned. So what would happen here in this 3-team deal with the Chargers, the Vikings, and the Patriots? Minnesota Vikings would give up their 11th overall pick, their 23rd overall pick, and trade up to the 3rd overall pick. That's all they're getting, right? They're going to get Drake May. They're going to get Jaden Daniels. They're going to get their future franchise quarterback that way. Los Angeles Chargers, they're going to get 3 picks out of this deal. They're going to get the 11th overall pick. So they're going to be trading back from 5 to 11. Not a significant drop, but 6 picks, trading out of the top 5. You're going to need a little bit more in return. So they're going to get the 11th overall pick, and they're going to get a 2025 first round pick from Minnesota. If that's not enough, then maybe Minnesota throws like a third or a fourth or a fifth round pick in there. So let's just call it a fourth round pick. Vikings get the third overall pick. Chargers get the 11th overall pick. They get a future first round pick from Minnesota for next season. And then they get a fourth round pick from Minnesota. And then Jim Harbaugh has a ton of assets to work with. He's probably in a better position. You know that organization's going to be patient with him. Yes, he's moving back 6 spots this season, but he gets a first next season and an additional mid-round pick next season as well. Harbaugh, that just seems like the type of move he would be willing to make. Now, what do the Patriots get? Patriots only move back a couple of spots. So they're going to get the Chargers pick at 5th overall, and then they're going to get the remaining Minnesota Vikings pick at 23rd overall. So the Patriots, this really is the ideal scenario, right? If they want to trade back and take J.J. McCarthy, they're only trading back 2 spots, so they got 5th overall, and they still get an additional first rounder at 23rd overall. So they could get McCarthy at number 5, and then like an A.D. Mitchell or someone at 23rd overall, and then you address the tackle position early in the second round at 34th overall, or vice versa, right? You get one of the remaining strong tackles that has slipped to 23rd overall, which there will be some in all likelihood, and then you can maybe get a Xavier Legette or an big-bodied outside threat early in the second round. This would be my scenario if the Patriots do want to trade back and take McCarthy, get number 5 with McCarthy, 23rd overall, one of the top receivers and one of the top tackles, and then you fill the other position early in the second round. So these are the scenarios I floated out. Fortunately, it means giving up on Drake May or Jaden Daniels, but Patriots will get a lot in return in all of these scenarios. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, subscribe there as well. Let me know in the comments if you like any of these scenarios I've played out. And we'll be back next week with lots of Patriots coverage, and we're going to be there all 3 days of the draft for some additional coverage after each pick in the first round, the second round, the third round, and we'll probably do another podcast at the end of the draft on day 3. And then after that, we'll do a whole draft podcast where we recap everything and try to make sense of it all. Be sure to subscribe so you can get all that content coming your way.
Trading back, moving forward on this football battlefield. Patriots rising, destiny calling, a brighter future to build. Podcast blazing with every touchdown cast. We'll stand strong in Gerard May, we trust. Trading back, never going wrong. From Foxborough to the end zone, united we stand tall. Trading back, a master stroke, New England's heroes never fall. Pass cast echoing, cheers filling the airwaves so loud. Through drafts and deals, our Patriots rise. We make the crowd proud. Pass cast echoing, cheers filling the airwaves so loud. Through drafts and deals, our Patriots rise. We make the crowd proud. Pass cast, oh oh, trading back, let the blessings flow. Pass cast, oh, New England Warriors, we're ready to show. Trading back for glory, together we'll go.